Welcome to the Trailblazers. I'm your host, Perry Rarick. The purpose of this interview series is to share with you interesting discussions I have with trailblazing business leaders. They're innovative, thought provoking, they're experts in their field, and they're not afraid to challenge the status quo. My trailblazer guest today is Braden Wallake. He is the CEO of HyperSocial, a B2B marketing agency with an expertise in using social media to drive business. Braden's trailblazer journey has been untraditional to say the least. About 9 years ago, Braden was working remotely from a 1996 Kia Sportage that served as both his mobile home and his office. And his customer meetings were conducted from wherever he could find a good Wi Fi connection. Well, he had success and he graduated to a tricked out van, and now he works out of an office. He strongly believed then, and he still does today, that authentic connections matter more than fancy pitches in developing business to business relationships. So he started HyperSocial to help B2B companies grow through genuine relationships, no cold calls, no hard sells, just real conversations that lead to business. Today, Hypersocial has helped hundreds of businesses transform their approach to using LinkedIn, and their campaigns have generated millions in revenue for their clients. Yeah, and as a sort of an appreciative nod to Braden's Kia Sportage beginnings, his team works remotely while traveling the country, working from vans and coffee shops. Braden and his team's mission is to revolutionize B2B marketing by making it more human. And they do it in a trailblazer style that certainly challenges conventional wisdom. Braden, welcome to the Trailblazers.
Harry, thanks for having me. It's I don't think of the Sportage very often, but I'll tell you what, it was manual, which isn't as common these days, but it would take like 40 or 50 turns. It always started, but it would just take these turns, and it would just frustrate me so much that stupid Kia Sportage. I'm so glad I sold it. I got to travel a bit after that, but yeah, bring back the good memories, and that I crashed the front right side of it. So yeah, it was a piece of crap, but it worked. That's what matters.
What a great what a great story. I love that beginning story. Everybody needs one of those, and you really have one. So businesses don't buy from businesses. It is people buying from people, and social media now plays a big role in that. They help people connect with one another who are seeking better outcomes for their businesses. So people buy from people, not companies. So therefore, for our audience say, we're going to use this term. B2B is really H to H, human to human. Braden and you and I first met several years ago, um, and you spoke about this as a calling, a mission that you have to make B2B H to H. So I'd like to start there. So what does that mean? What does H to H mean?
That's a big question, and one that we could probably spend days dissecting. For me, I think I'm my personal self, I hate ads more than anything. And we just started running ads ourselves recently, and it's been a new learning experience, but everything in the world is sponsored nowadays by some logo. You can't even the tiny sections of sports games are now like, this is brought to you by whatever. I'm not gonna name names. I don't care who the sponsors are of the large sponsor, but there's just everything's sponsored. And so as a small business to compete with those people in the ad world, you just don't stand a lot of a chance, right? And so my previous careers have been in B2B sales and owning a couple businesses. And the way that I've always built those businesses was face to face back when we had to knock on businesses' doors. And I even did home to home knocking for construction. And it was always once people got to see the smiling face and who I was, like the connection was always there. And I got to learn about them and what their problems were. And to me, the world has gone too much towards logos. But like what I mean, we could get into like what's the book? Homo Sapiens book where they basically just say like companies are just made up. People are actually real and companies are made up. We don't have to go that deep, but realistically, the only thing that really exists is us, and we all have our own emotions and personalities. And I think the business will always be better done when you connect with people than you ever will connect with a logo, right? Like one way or another, how you feel about Elon Musk, whether you currently is very controversial, but you care more about what Elon Musk has to say than you care about what Tesla has to say or SpaceX has to say or any of those. You care that he's going into the treasury and doing its stuff, and you care what he has to say about him buying X and all those things. He is what matters to people, not the companies that are behind that are there, right? You don't care about PayPal nearly as much as you care about Elon.
Yeah, great. I agree with you. There are people behind all of those logos. Not to discount what graphic designers do, but it all represents an army of people.
Yeah.
So, what makes an effective H to H? Well, to use your term, what makes a good H to H strategy?
Yeah. Valid question. I think I just had a call earlier where somebody was talking about some different versions of H2H strategies, and especially on the marketing and sales side, too much of what we want to do nowadays in the H2H is about ourselves, right? We want to make it easy for us as sellers to do things. We want to make it easy for us, but we're not actually thinking about what do the buyers want to have? What do they need to know before they even want to have a conversation? If you focus on how you can help them get to the next level, you'll get so many more leads, so many more clients, so many more anything than ever leading with things that benefit you, right? I can sell, give me 30 minutes of your time so I can sell you my widget or my service or this or that. But for me and for our team internally and a lot of our clients too is can we lead with value first? So like for us, we do LinkedIn. One of the things we do on LinkedIn is we reach out to people and say, hey, I'll give you 30 minutes of my time to teach you how to use LinkedIn on your own. Right. And people are like, yeah, you can teach me. That's great. Naturally, it leads to people wanting to just, hey, okay, great, do it for me, but they're still getting value from that conversation first. I'm helping them get over a lot of their hurdles just by helping them first and foremost. They lower their walls. You're not like everybody else. And I think that will always be what H to H is more than just being a face. Like face to face is one thing, but when you're doing marketing and sales, putting that person on the other end first will be the next level of H to H. And it's hard to.
Awesome. I so it's the if we're the first H, it's the second H. Focus on the second H of the two H to H.
That's right.
Why do not why it seems I'm one, I completely agree with you. I think it's the most effective way. Why don't more people do it?
I think it's counterintuitive to kind of everything we were ever taught, right? Like it just seems like I don't want to get on calls where I teach people something for free because that's a waste of my time. But I was actually just interviewing for we're hiring a new salesperson. I was going through our sales process and I was going through our sales close rates of people that we reach out to cold. We offer them a free 30-minute chat to teach them about LinkedIn. Our services are somewhere around 650 a month, or depending on what you need from us. We get about 20 calls a week. 10 of those go to a second call where we actually get into the nitty gritty details of working with us. And that second call, we close about 50% of those. So of cold, we're closing about 25% of deals. Now, you may say that, okay, that means that the other time is wasted, but those people are going to give me referrals. I can send referrals their way. We can do business together, even if it doesn't mean directly them paying us money together too. And I think people have this thing that they're concerned about their time being spent for free. When realistically, if you give your time away and think, how can I be helpful first, it'll always benefit you back.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you. So primarily you help businesses, the social media platform you use is LinkedIn. I think,
Mhm.
I think we all recognize that as the leading business to business platform. So what is can you offer some insights? What's the latest skinny on LinkedIn? What works and what doesn't work?
Yeah. Um, in terms of what works. So there's a lot of different ways to utilize LinkedIn. If I were to simplify it into like, if people could take 20 minutes right now and start doing LinkedIn, what would they do? Number one would be to get LinkedIn Sales Navigator, which is a premium version of LinkedIn. It allows you to really find your ideal prospects that you'll be reaching out to and doing business with. Um, what really works on Sales Navigator, what a lot of people miss is they'll build out their searches to say, hey, I want to work with small business owners, or I want to work with heads of marketing, or whoever it is they reach out to. They miss two important filters that will make your outreach so much better. The degree of connection, making sure you choose your second degrees, right? People have a connection in common is what really works. And then there's also an option of post it on LinkedIn in the last 30 days. Now, these aren't like mind-blowing new things that we've just learned, but it's crazy to me how many people go to do outreach. Like, I'm getting lower numbers than we were expecting. And I'm like, well, who are you targeting? How are you targeting them? Are you targeting second degrees, and have they posted on LinkedIn? And even just if they're not posted on LinkedIn, just targeting second degrees will make your outreach that much more effective. So, getting connected with them is the first and foremost thing. I can't express this enough. There's, in mails, and there's scraping emails to try and send emails to those people based on the Sales Navigator searches. No, get connected, because once you get connected, you're opening up so many opportunities for them to see you and you to build a relationship with them, right? You've got your content. You can invite them to events, like a webinar that you can run. You have free access, open access to their inbox, basically. Now, don't abuse it, right? But getting connected is first and foremost, then seeing what you can do with that person from there to get their attention. And normally that starts with a message. If you don't get their attention via messaging, be posting content so they can see that as well, helpful content, and then run run a webinar, run a local in-person event. If you're targeting local people, local business owners, or whoever, run an in-person event, invite people to that. We continue to fill that up for a lot of our um what do I call them, local peer advisory groups. A bunch of local business owners get together, and that's what they offer, and they help business owners grow and through that. But they do these lunch and learns, or these breakfasts once a month, and they fill it up with 15, 20 people every single time, just inviting their LinkedIn connections to it.
So I get a lot of invitations for webinars. They come from, I think I know what you're going to say about this. They come from companies. I think you'd recommend that they come from individuals.
So the best way is to have the company be the host or the creator of the webinar, but anybody who's attending the webinar, myself or any of my team, or even anybody else who's attending, LinkedIn will allow you to invite up to 1,000 of your current connections a week to that webinar. So we run a webinar once a month. My whole team is inviting 4,000 of their current connections to that webinar. And I just had a webinar last month where 150 people were on it. And it was awesome. And I was just inviting my first degree connection. So yes, the company hosts it because you can actually collect their email address if the company hosts it, but invite people from your personal.
Yeah, yeah, that's really good advice. What else? What else works or doesn't work?
Yeah. Um, we've heard for a long time that video is king. When doing outreach, video will remain undefeated in my mind. There are lots of ways of doing video. You can record a personalized video for each individual person to reach out to, or you can record a Loom video that gets used to every single, just a regular normal video that you reuse to everybody. Either of those will separate you from all the rest of the LinkedIn noise. And I know, Perry, you've gotten plenty of LinkedIn outreach, salesy messages to you. They're all text based, right? They text only. Nothing there is building trust. Nothing there is separating. When you use video, people get to hear like on this, people get to hear my excitement about what I do. They get to hear your trust. They get to see that you're not an AI profile reaching out to them. You're not some blonde Russian girl that's reaching out to them about marketing services, which I've seen as a trend in the last couple of months. But they do see that you're a real person. Your face matches up, and there's a lot more trust to be built there, and a lot of separation of you versus everybody else.
You have a lot of clients. You've generated a lot of revenue for them, as I said in the intro. Can you offer a case study, like from the very beginning, how they connected with you, how you put together a plan for them, and the results?
Sure. let's see, let me think of one off the top of my head. So I'll use one of my older case studies, but still one of my favorites because they were one of my first clients when HyperSocial was really getting going on the LinkedIn side of things. They were an SEO company. They do SEO for other businesses. And they were doing their own SEO and ads and things like that to try and drive their own leads and revenue. And they really kind of struggled with the quality of the leads they were getting from, Google searches and things like that. So we got onto LinkedIn and we could really nail down the best target audience for them, right? So we could make sure that we're only reaching out to people who have a certain employee head count, which means they probably have a certain revenue that they could spend on marketing and things like that. And they were doing about 10K a month when they started with us. And in 3 months, they were already up to 30K a month and the clients were staying so much longer. Um, and they eventually added their second founder's profile too, because it was going so well. And then they started diving into other businesses, and I think they sold that business after a while. I don't know the exact one there, but they grew their business so fast just because they were going to have not waiting for people to come talk to you from your SEO efforts and from your ad efforts, but just going and starting a conversation with people. And we were very helpful. I think back then we offered audits. We don't really offer audits as much anymore because audits have kind of become code word for sales call. We were actually doing like they were willing to do audits for people and actually look at their website and see what they could improve and see what they could actually think they could get them ranked at on Google and stuff like that, not just a sales call. But that's what we were doing back then. And yeah, it just kind of grew like crazy. And they were again one of our first clients, and we were like, how do we do this thing for more people? And it was really cool just to see that kind of growth there, that so much that they were willing to put a second profile up and start doing more outreach just to double down numbers.
Yeah. What's the difference between a company profile and, an organizational profile and a personal profile? How does LinkedIn look at those?
Yeah. So personal. So I think I used this reference last time we chatted, Perry, is I like to think of a company profile. If we think of them as the like Avengers brand,
Yep.
the individual profiles are the individual Avengers themselves, right? And each one of them has their own personal, and I'll get into how LinkedIn looks at each of them too. But the way that I see companies really build up their company brand is by focusing on all of the individual brands that make up the company, right? What is the CEO posting about? What are the sales team posting about? What's the operating officer posting about, right? Getting all their different thoughts. We know Iron Man because we know he's arrogant, and rich, and funny, uh, and we know the Hulk because he's always angry, and we know God. I'm not going to be able to name any others. Each of them have their own personalities, right? And the Avengers brand doesn't exist without all of their individual brands, right? There's you don't care about the Avengers brand, you care about the people behind it. And I think the LinkedIn is exactly the same way. Now, how LinkedIn sees it, they want you to pay for ads on a business profile. That's their entire revenue generating model on the business profile. They now have business premium profiles. I think they'll get better, but there's nothing much with them yet. Besides, you can see one person per day that can view your company profile page, that views your page, and it chooses. I don't know how LinkedIn chooses which one to let you know that they did, but they let you know that they did, and I think it's a little silly. But on your personal, every single person, if you have LinkedIn Sales Navigator, every single person who views your profile, you get to see who they are, right? On your content, your personal content has such a better reach because LinkedIn's not a pay to play on your personal profiles. You can't run ads from your personal profile, right? So you can reach more people, get in front of more eyes. Your content has more likes, shares. You're actually building more relationships there too. Every time we post on our company page, I'm like, why do we do this? Like, why we could just take these back and post it on our personals and not have the company page post it because it just doesn't do that much. I think of company pages more of almost just where to just throw testimonials and case studies, right? Just let it be a social proof for the selling process down the road rather than anything to try and draw attention or anything like that because it is just so pay to play, and LinkedIn ads are very expensive on the pay to play side.
Yeah. I occasionally get prompted, do you want to boost? What does that mean? Do you want to
Yeah,
boost
just
this?
throw $5 and let it be seen in front of more people. Like $10, or then no, Link doesn't let you start with $5. $10 a day or something like that to just go let it be seen in front of more people. You can then choose your audience. I think you can do that on your personal profile as
Yeah.
well, like your personal posts. I've never done it because LinkedIn doesn't let you run ads that mention the word LinkedIn, and most of my posts talk about LinkedIn, and they just
Uh,
don't let you do that. I tried to run ads for webinars, but on teach people how to use LinkedIn, but they don't let us do that. So I've never actually done a boost. I've done Facebook boosts and Instagram boosts, and they're all very similar. Just pick the audience I want this to go to. Generally, it just draws more eyes to the post
yeah.
itself, and hopefully you can end up with more followers and more engagement and stuff from there.
Okay. So it's a distribution boost.
Yeah, it's a distribution boost for
All
sure.
right. What else about LinkedIn should when we all have misconceptions and we use it. Here's another one I get a lot about an organic personal post versus placing an external link that takes somebody away from LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
If we think about the way that any social media platform gets paid, they get paid either through marketers who are paying for ads on their platform, and then they're okay with you going off their platform because they get to charge a dollar to that advertiser when you click on their link and go there, right? When they're actually paying for the ad. Other than that, if they're not getting paid, if LinkedIn's not getting paid for a link, they don't want you to leave their platform. Because if I post a link and Perry, you read it and you click on that link and you leave LinkedIn, well, you're not seeing their ads anymore, right? You're not engaging with their content. You're not building their platform. You're taking yourself off of it. So it's always better to post content without links. A way around it is you can generally post your links in like the first comment is what people will do. So that way the post itself doesn't have a link, but there are links in the comments. And I haven't seen that really hurt the reach on the post that much. But generally, I stay away from links.
Yeah, interesting. And then what about frequency? Like how often is it a self-licking ice cream cone? We need to be on there every day with some fresh content.
On LinkedIn, the best part about LinkedIn is the shelf life of their posts comparatively to Instagram, where you post and 6 hours later nobody's seeing that post any longer unless you happen to really get some traction on it because it has a lot of engagement. LinkedIn, I have posts that I still have posts from 2 years ago, 3 years ago, where it went extremely viral. One of the, I think the most viral post that's ever been seen. We don't have to discuss what that post was because anyways, it still is my, if I go look at my engagement each week and my metrics each week, it's still my most viewed post week after week after week. More than the new stuff that I put out, it's still the most viewed post. So that just kind of tells you the social life or the shelf life of the content on LinkedIn. So it's less of a frequency thing. Yes, you need to be consistent, right? Because especially if you saw that post, Perry, you don't care to go back to that post nearly as much as what new stuff have I posted about. But LinkedIn, above all platforms, it's a quality over a quantity thing.
Yeah.
Ideally, you're posting at least once a week. But as soon as you start, and I actually was listening to something, a podcast about this earlier, as soon as you start focusing on the quantity of your posts get shallower and shallower and shallower, right? And actually, that's been a huge trend on LinkedIn recently too. Is people are just reposting positive videos from Instagram. They're just reposting them onto LinkedIn, and they're not building your brand. They're just getting you vanity metrics, right? And it's because you're just so focused on I got to get new content out there. I got to get new content out there. When if you take your time and just focus on how do I create good content that for people like and help them, now your posts are deeper, your posts are more engaging, your posts actually people will remember and use when they're doing stuff down the road. Like I've had people come to me and say, Braden, great advice on that post on your LinkedIn outreach of, what to do on LinkedIn outreach. I got my first 3 clients from, following your kind of best practices there, right? And that's going to build the trust of me over reposting a video that gets 60,000 likes on it. Like what good does that do? That's not my content. It's just somebody else's content that I repurpose myself. So yes, you want to be consistent, but as soon as you start to see your content getting shallower and shallower and shallower, and you start focusing on maybe content curation versus content creation, I think you're starting to head down the wrong train. And sure you can get more likes and you can get more comments, but what does that really matter?
Yeah. I love curation versus creation. Great, great memory jogger there. What about participation? So I'm on LinkedIn. I may post something. but I also have I've got a bunch of connections on there. I'm seeing things. So I'm active with it. I like things, I comment on things. What does that do?
Yeah, there's a few things that that does. So something else that like I do is in Sales Navigator. I know I have my normal in my lead searches and things like that that are saved in there, but I also have a custom lead list of just the influencers in my space, people with the most followers, posting consistent content, getting good engagement that should have a lot of the similar followers that I want to have, or that followers that I want to do business with. I'll go through their stuff and I'll leave really purposeful comments on that. And the best part about Sales Navigator is just those posts are right up at the top of my Sales Navigator feed. It's right there. I see Dan Martell, I see Ryan Dice. Those posts are right there at the top. And I'm going to go leave really, really meaningful engagement on those because maybe Ryan or Dan won't see them, but their followers will, right? And now I have the attraction of their followers to come view my stuff, but I'm not just saying great post, Dan. I'm really trying to get thought-provoking stuff out there on their posts too. So a great way to use use audiences and people do it back to me as well, which is perfectly fine. Just a way of kind of building that community. The other thing that happens is if were to like comment on, let's say, Perry, I wanted to sell you something and you're an ideal client of mine. When I like and comment on your stuff, yes, you're going to get notifications that I've done that. But LinkedIn's also the way the algorithm works is it says, hey, Perry, Braden's commenting on your stuff. I should probably show Braden's stuff on Perry's feed also. So it's a really cool way the LinkedIn algorithm works that way is to kind of just sees, even if it's one sided at first, it starts to not make it as one sided. It starts to make sure that my content's being seen in your feed and being at the top of your feed also. And the last thing is that when you get likes and comments from the connection, all of their connections will see that they liked and commented that or liked and or commented on that in their feed also, right? So if you get those likes and comments, you're more likely to get that traction. Now it needs to be again meaningful and not shallow, content curation crap. But if whoever likes my post and Perry, you're connected with them and you're not connected with me, you're going to see that my post in your feed now. There's a couple different things that LinkedIn algorithm does that rewards being an engager, but also rewards actually creating valuable content that people are engaging with too.
Yeah. Great advice. Thanks for all of those insights, pulling the curtain back a little bit on these mysteries of LinkedIn. Uh, so a lot of organizations do this without a strategy. And I'm guessing you're going to say you need to have a cohesive strategy. You talked about what you do when you're going to have a webinar. Everybody in the company is posting about that webinar, upcoming webinar, on their personal feed. What do you recommend to companies who aren't doing that? Like, how do you get your folks on board? What does a good internal strategy look like? How do you communicate? How do you get your employees on board with all of that effort?
Yeah, that's I think a really, really good question and one that will matter, will change depending on the organization. But how can you, we used to have, when our team was bigger, we had a call where we would all just post content. We would post something all at the same time. Like we would just get on the call and just think about our content and we'd post it. And then we would go through and engage with the rest of everybody else's content on there. We just throw the links in the Zoom chat, go like and engage and leave a meaningful comment on their post. So we kind of turned it into just a fun session of coming up with content ideas together. The other side is how can you build it into your company culture, right? How can you reward people who are doing that? It may not always be with, hey, here's $1 every time you post, right? But how do you say, hey, this is a part of what we believe in here at XYZ company? If you're posting, you're more likely to get promotions because that's a piece of who we are, right? And it's an important piece of how we do business. And if you're on board with that, then you're on board with that. We're going to be on board with you, right? Similar to anything. Anytime anybody is taking a leadership initiative, you take notes of those things. But same with the people who are posting on LinkedIn.
Yeah, that's great. Great idea. I like that idea of getting together and making it a fun activity. That's
Yeah.
that's really cool.
Yeah, because
What other
kind of
tips?
overwhelming. Yeah. So if you make a game with it with everybody else and you're like, "Oh, we really don't all know what we're doing together, but let's not know what we're doing at the same time and figure out what works together," then great. Like we're gonna have a lot more fun failing, right?
What other secret tips would you like to share?
Hmm.
Maybe they're not so secretive, just they're great tips.
So you mentioned I want to clarify something on the event side. In addition to posting about the events, what LinkedIn will allow you to do is if I'm attending the event and then Perry, you go attend the event, and let's say you want to invite your connections to it, instead of just posting it onto your page, you can actually each week go into the event, click invite people, select 1,000 people in that list, and it will send an actual notification that said Perry invited you to XYZ event, right? So now they're getting like an actual notification rather than them having to see the posts and doing it there. It's just like in their notification section where they normally get their connection requests, it's Perry invited you to XYZ event, register or decline, accept or decline, right? And it's as easy as that to get them to register for it. So you can do that 4 weeks out and you'll start to see kind of the social proof build up on itself too. So first week, let's say I've got 4 teammates and we're all sending out 1,000 invitations. You may get 50 per person to say yes, right? But the next week, there's now 200 people attending that event. The next week, we invite 1,000 people. They already see there's 200 people
Yeah.
attending. We're gonna get more than 50 each, right? Maybe we get 75 each, and so that kind of that social proof builds on itself a lot.
That's incredible. That is awesome advice. That's really smart. I really like, the tips that you're offering. This is great stuff. We don't want you to give away too much. So, I thank you for all of those. This is really good stuff. I remember several years ago when I spoke to you, I started using LinkedIn differently, and I noticed the difference. I was getting a much better, um, more connections, deeper connections. Things really changed for me using LinkedIn. It really does work. And one thing that you keep coming back to, it's human to human. The value of the example you just shared, which it's an invitation coming from a person. Braden is sending me an invitation rather than HyperSocial. Much more meaningful. I recognize Braden in his face rather than the logo. So
That's right.
great stuff. Just really great stuff. I want to thank you for being with us today. My trailblazer guest today has been Braden Wallake, the CEO of HyperSocial. He knows more about LinkedIn and using social media than anybody I know. And at the fundamental level of this, it's human to human. That's what he does. That's what he believes in. How can listeners contact you?
Um, Probably LinkedIn would be the best way. They can also go to gohypersocial.com and engage with us there, learn from us. Um, those will be the two best spots for sure.
Yeah, great stuff. If you find that you want to do more and you need some help, I highly recommend Braden. He really understands his stuff. Braden, thanks a bunch for really being a true trailblazer right from the very beginning. Thanks.
Thanks for having me, Perry. This was fun.